Motion.
Smallsley- Don Smallsley will make that motion.
Frank will second it.
Okay. Roll call vote. Mr. Schmaltzy,
Yes.
Dr. Lonstein,
Yes.
Mr. Odom.
Yes.
Is Eric on yet?
Yes, he is.
Eric?
Aye.
And I vote yes. Did I miss anyone?
Yeah, me, but Frank, but I wrote yes.
Okay. We have yes, multiple round. Seeker is a neg deck. And Mary Lou, I think that's all we need to do at this point. Is that correct?
Well, now you need a motion to approve subject to the
Right, that's,
list of our,
I'll make that motion. Dr. Blonstein, approve the project with the list of items that need to be done from the town.
Don Smallsley will second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? No nays, we're good to go, right?
Okay. Well, I
yes,
appreciate it.
you can get in
Good
touch
job.
with the building department.
Okay, we will. Appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, you too.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, the next is the wire lot line revision. We have anyone here for that project?
Yes, Patty Brooks, I'm here representing Shirley DeWire.
Yeah, hi Patty.
Good evening, Patty.
This is a public hearing. If you want to give a quick rundown again of your project.
Absolutely. This is a proposed lot line revision located at the intersection of South Hill Road and Brown Road. We have two pre-existing non-conforming lots that are improved with single-family dwellings. One lot is 3.5 acres, one lot is 0.9 acres. We're proposing a lot line revision to convey 0.79 acres from the 3.5 acre lot to the 0.9 acre lot. So the resultant lot sizes will be 2.71 and 1.69 acres. We did receive an area variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals on March 19th, 2021 to allow the conveyance of the land.
Jonathan has noted that all the changes in the original application that were requested have been made. We previously, I believe, waived the topographic requirement to be put on the map, and this has been determined to be a type 2 action under seeker, so no seeker is required. At this point, we need to open the public hearing. And is there anyone here for the DeWire lot line revision? The DeWire lot line division in Napanock? No. Okay.
Don Smallsley will make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And Mr. Hart, you have a memorandum from me on May 10th that has the recommended action. There really aren't any open issues. I prepared a resolution that Mary Lou looked over late this afternoon. If you're ready for action on this item.
Okay. One other question. We do have the authority to override or waive.
I'm live, just so you know.
I'm sorry, Doug, I didn't hear you.
Okay, we do have the authority to waive the public hearing and the final approval, final plat approval.
Yes, I included in the resolution that you would waive the public hearing on final plat. That's in condition 3 of the conditions of approval I framed up for your consideration.
Thank you. Does any of the board members have any comments to that effect? Are we in favor of that?
Sounds good.
The resolution should be read.
Yeah, that's my next step. Mary, that's next.
Okay.
Okay, so Janice, do you want to give us a run through of that resolution, or if you'd like me to read it, either way.
I think you could really just start reading it. Sometimes John will skip to the be it resolved part, but yes, I would just read the resolution. There really aren't any things to discuss, I don't believe, on this one.
Okay. So if you give me a second. So typically what John would do is not get into the whereases so much as they are a matter of record and will be online.
If you like, I can also share, I could find the document and share it on the screen.
That would be
I
fine.
think that would be good.
That would be great.
All right.
And I think we usually do read the whereases. We just don't read the like list of documents and that
Yep.
we and things like that.
Mary Lou, if you want me to read the whereases, it's no problem.
I like hearing your voice.
Okay.
DJ now.
Whereas the applicant Shirley Dwyer is seeking a subdivision approval to revise the lot line between 66.3-1-6 and 66-3-1.7.130, and whereas the subject lots are situated within the RU district, which has a minimum lot area requirement of 5 acres. And whereas the proposed action involves moving a line between two lots with conveyance of a 0.79 from lot 7.13 to lot 6. The conveyance would reduce lot 7.13 from 3.5 to 2.71 acres and would increase the size of lot 6 from 0.9 to 1.69. No construction or land disturbance is proposed. Lot 7.13 contains a single-family home located at 1152 Town Road. Lot 6 contains a single-family home located at 18 Brown Road. And whereas a variance was approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals on March 10th, 2021, the variance was required because the area of a lot 7.13 was proposed to be reduced. It was already unconforming, being below the minimum lot area of 5. And whereas pursuant to section 95-13 of the Town of Waworthing Code, the Planning Board approved the sketch plan on April 20th, 2021, which allowed the applicant to proceed with the application for preliminary plat approval. And whereas pursuant to section 95-14, a preliminary plat prepared by Patricia Brooks, LS, was submitted with the latest revision date of 22 April 2021, which required a public hearing, and the public hearing was properly noticed and held on May 18, 2021. Whereas the application materials submitted for the sketch and preliminary plat approval in support of the action include, now, do you want me to read those materials, Mary Lou?
I believe Mary Lou said you could just say that those are in the record.
Those are part of the record.
And they should be on your screen if anyone wants to see them.
Yep. Whereas referral to the Ulster County Planning Board was not required for the proposed subdivision pursuant to the Ulster County Planning Board Land Use Referral Guide, an agreement between Ulster County and the Town of Waworthing. And whereas the Planning Board considered the application material submitted by the applicant in support of the proposed action, along with the comments of its consultants made via memoranda, which memoranda are incorporated in by reference, and whereas the proposed lot line revision would help increase the size of lot 66.3-1-6 towards conformance with RU district minimum lot area and bulk requirements. And lot 66.3-1-7.130 would be the area in accordance with the area variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. And whereas the Planning Board upon review of the entire record, including seeker short form EAF part 1, found his action type 2 action pursuant to seeker on April 20th. Further environmental review and determined the applicant has complied fully with the procedural requirements of parts of 617 of the Environmental Quality Review Act or law. And further be it resolved, the Town of Worthing Planning Board hereby grants preliminary plat and conditional final approval as described above for the lands of Shirley Dwyer, subject to the conditions, limitations, and restrictions set forth below. No changes, erasures, modifications, or revisions shall be made to any plat after approval and endorsement by the Planning Board. All fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid. The final plat public hearing is waived per the Town of Worthing zoning code. Planning Board Chairman is authorized to sign the final plat once all of the conditions below are met. A preliminary plat with latest revision date of April 22nd, 2021 will be retitled and resubmitted as a final plat stamped by the surveyor with the title block ready for signature. The final plat shall be filed with the Ulster County Clerk within 62 days of the plat being signed by the chairman of the planning. Okay. John is not with us today, but Paul, Dr. Loftey,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Did you have a motion?
No.
sorry,
You need a motion in a second.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion to
I'll
accept
second.
this
Okay,
I'll
thank
second.
you.
resolution. And now I'll say yes.
getting ahead of
Dr. Lonstein and Eric.
And I'll say yes also.
me. Don Odom, I got ahead of myself there. Don Odom,
Yes.
Don Schmaltzy. Don Schmaltzy,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Don't forget Frank. Did Frank vote?
No, I vote yes.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any other comments or questions by the board?
Nope.
Mary Lou, I believe that wraps this up.
Yes, you may move on to the next item.
Yeah, that's it. The next one is Mantel, which is the a subdivision lot consolidation. Do we have here for that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, would you give us a brief rundown of
Sure.
that project, please?
Just for the record, Mr. Manpel is also on screen. Yeah, it's proposed to basically subdivide tax lot 1.1 such that the property on the south side of Tempeloni Road will be subdivided off the main parcel and then consolidated with tax lot 1.2, such for a total lot size of 6.02 acres. And the remaining lands north of Tempeloni Road, which would be 199.22 acres. Well, it's that land on the north side of Tempeloni Road. We've also granted the offer of dedication for the road.
Jonathan has indicated that all required changes to the application have been made.
Yes.
We need to open the hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this, on the Manpel project? Subdivision lot line consolidation? Anyone here to speak on the Manpel project? Okay,
Don Smallsley makes a motion to close the public hearing.
Don Odom seconds.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, this has been determined to be a type 2 action under seeker, so there is required. The Ulster County Planning Board.
Join the meeting.
And we can go forward at the point, Mary Lou, a motion to go forward with the resolution.
Did you read the
I'm gonna
resolution?
read it first, Doug.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It goes, is there anything we need to do before that? That's what I was asking.
No, I don't believe so.
Mary Lou, you're on mute.
Just go, you can go ahead and read the resolution and then someone can make a motion.
That's fine. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure before we.
Yep, you can go right ahead.
Just want to make sure I dot my i's. Jeez. Okay, the resolution to approve. Whereas applicants Michael G. Mantel and Vanessa L. Mantel are seeking subdivision approval to consolidate lots and revise the lot lines between lots 9.4-4-1.1 and 90.4-4-1.2. And whereas the subject lots are situated within the RU district, which has a minimum lot area requirement of 5 acres. And whereas the subject property is comprised of 2 existing lots, both in tax map section 90.4, block 4, lot 1.2, is 1.04 acres and is located on the south side of Templeoni Road. Its southwest corner almost touching the town line with Mamakating. Lot 1.2 contains an existing house, garage, and shed with an address of 418 Templeoni Road. Lot 1.1 is vacant with 206 acres, and it straddles Templeoni Road. It is surrounding lot 1.2, and a majority of its area is north of Templeoni Road. And whereas the applicant proposes to merge lot 1.2 into lot 1.1, the applicant then proposes to split lot 1.1 along its natural division down the center line of Templeoni Road, creating 2 parcels, no new parcels. An offer of dedication for highway purposes is also shown on the preliminary plan. After the land transfer, the house at number 418 Templeoni Road would be on parcel 2, or a new enlarged lot 1.2, as shown on the proposed subdivision plan, which would now be increased in size from 1.04 to 6.02 acres. The existing lot 1.1 would now only be located only on the north side of Templeoni Road, and it would be reduced in size from 206 to 199.22 acres. The site is located in the RU zoning district near the border with the town of Mamakating. Both lots would be in conformance with requirements, as each would be above the minimum lot size required of 5 acres. No new building setback nonconformities will be created by the proposed line changes. Whereas pursuant to section 95.13 of the Town of Warsing Code, the Planning Board approved the sketch plan on April 20th, 2021, which allowed the applicant to proceed with the application for preliminary plat approval. And whereas pursuant to section 95-14, a preliminary plat by Timothy Dave LS was submitted with the latest revision date of 21 April 2021, which required a public hearing. The public hearing was properly noticed and held on May 18, 2021. The application materials submitted for the sketch plan and preliminary approval in support of the proposed action are included and are part of the available online. We will go over that. Those are available online.
I didn't give it to you.
Whereas referral to the Ulster County Planning Board was
There
not,
wasn't one.
I'm sorry. Somebody say something?
I'm sorry. I'm having a conversation with Barbara. I apologize.
Referral to the Ulster County Planning Board was not required for the proposed subdivision pursuant to the Ulster County Planning Board Land Use Referral Guide, an agreement between Ulster County and the town of Warsing. And whereas the planning board considered the application materials submitted by in support of the proposed action, along with the comments of its consultants made via a memoranda, which memoranda are incorporated herein by reference. And whereas the planning board, upon review of the entire record, including secret short form EAF Part 1, found the proposed action to be a Type 2 action procedure on April 20th, 2021, requiring no further environmental review. The applicant has complied fully and procedural with the procedural requirement of 617 of the State Environmental Quality Review Law. And further be it resolved, the town of Warsing Planning Board hereby grants preliminary plat and conditional final approval as described above for lot Michael G. Mantel and Vanessa L. Mantel, subject to the conditions, limitations, and restrictions set forth below. No changes, erasures, modifications, or revisions shall be made to any plat after approval and endorsement by the planning board. All fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid. The final plat public hearing is waived for the town of Warsing zoning code. The planning board chairman is authorized to sign the final plat once all of the conditions below are met. The preliminary plat with the latest revision date of April 21st, 2020, new title as the final plat stamped by the surveyor with a title block ready for signature. The final plat shall be filed with the Ulster County Clerk within 62 days, and the plat being signed by the chairman of the planning board.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Don Smalsley will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? I think we're good to go. Mary Lou?
Yep, you're good.
Aaron?
All done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next would be the Stalter application, which is a lot line revision and a public hearing on the lot line revision. Do you have any idea of the Stalter lot line revision?
That's also me.
Okay, and if you could give us a quick rundown of that, please.
Yeah, it's proposed to take the existing 4 lots and reconfigure into 3 lots. Basically by subdividing tax lot 62, making tax lot 60 and consolidating with tax lot 63, such that it's 1.85 acres. And then consolidating in tax lot 60 in with lot 62. And then tax lot 58 will remain as is.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to comment on this Stalter lot line revision project?
Pretty exciting application so far.
Going once, going twice. The Stalter application. Any comments from the public?
Don Smallsley
Make a
makes a motion to close the public hearing.
Second? We have a second.
I'll make that second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now, this was a, we did vote previously to waive the topography on this. We also waived the requirement for showing the wetlands on this. If not, we're going, I think there was a note, Jonathan, on this one that we didn't do that at last month's meeting.
According to my review that I did on May 10th, that you should act on the waiver request for providing information on wetlands, topography, and drainage. So I would make a motion to that at this time. That's my recommended action number 2.
Don Smallsley will make the motion that we waive the provision for information on wetlands, topography, grading, and drainage, since there are no changes to the, physical changes. It's just a matter of a lot line change.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
And then I've proposed a resolution for your consideration, and all of the other matters are included in the resolution.
Okay. Bear with me a moment. On the resolution, whereas the applicant Joanne D. Stalter is seeking subdivision approval to consolidate lots and revise the lot lines on her lands fronting on Eugene Street and High Street, and whereas the 4 existing subject lots are situated in Napanock within the MU district, which has a minimum lot area requirement of 0.25 acres, all existing and non-conforming
Left it right there on your desk blotter.
as each is below the minimum lot size required, the total area of all 4 non-conforming lots is 0.628 acres. No new building setback nonconformities will be created by the proposed line changes, and whereas lots 83.6-5-58 and 83-6-5.60 are adjacent and front on High Street, lots 83.6-5-62 and 83.6-5-63 are adjacent and front on Eugene Street. The 2 High Street lots are contiguous with the Eugene Street lots and share rear lot lines. And whereas the applicant proposes to merge lots 60, 62, and 63 and divide them into 2 lots, lot 58 would remain unchanged. After the merger and re-subdivision, the house at number 7 Eugene Street would be on a larger lot, now 62, larger lot 62, now an L-shaped lot with frontage on both Eugene Street and High Street. The current lot 60 would be absorbed into lot 62. The house at 11 Eugene Street would now be on a larger lot 63 with an added side yard to the west. The large garage on High Street would remain on unchanged lot 58. Whereas pursuant to section 95-13 of the Town of Warsing Code, the Planning Board approved the sketch plan on April 20th, 2021, which allowed the applicant to proceed with the application for preliminary plat approval. And whereas pursuant to section 95-14, a preliminary plat prepared by Timothy McCabe LS was submitted with the latest revision date of 19 April 2021, which required public hearing, and the public hearing was properly noticed and held on May 18, 2021. And whereas the application material submitted for the sketch and preliminary plat approval in support of the proposed action included various documents which are available online and made part of this record. We will move to the whereas referral to the Ulster County Planning Board was not required for the proposed subdivision pursuant to the Ulster County Planning Board Land Use Referral Guide, an agreement between Ulster County and the town of Warsing. And whereas the planning board considered the application material submitted by the applicant in support of the proposed action, along with the comments of its consultants made via memoranda, which memoranda are incorporated herein by reference. And whereas the planning board, upon review of the entire record, including seeker short form EAF Part 1, found the proposed action to be a type 2 action pursuant to seeker on April 20th, 2021, requiring no further environmental review, and determined the applicant has completely complied fully with the procedural requirements of Part 617 of the State Environmental Quality Review Law. And further be it resolved that the Town of Warsing Planning Board hereby grants preliminary plat and conditional final approval as described above for lot line revision for the lands of Joanne D. Stalton, subject to the conditions, limitations, and restrictions set forth below. 1. No changes, erasures, modifications, or revisions shall be made to any plat after approval and endorsement by the planning board. All fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid. The final plat public hearing is waived for the Town of Warsing zoning code. The planning board chairman is authorized to sign the final plat once all of the conditions below are met. A preliminary plat with the latest revision date of April 19, 2021 should be retitled and resubmitted as a final plat, stamped by the surveyor with a title block ready for signature. The final plat shall be filed with the Ulster County Clerk within 62 days of the plat being signed by the chairman of the board. We need a motion to accept.
I'll make that motion.
Tom Smallsley, a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I believe we are good to go on the Stalter application. Mary Lou, anything?
You're correct. We can go on to Millen.
Go on to the
Main.
next.
Okay, good night. Thank you very much.
You're very well.
Hi, Jim.
Night.
The next up is Pilot Light. I believe that's also down as their name. Do we have anyone?
Hi, Nadine's here, and I know the applicant's also on.
Okay. Just give
I
us a,
suggest on this that maybe you want to actually put the map on the screen, either Jonathan or give Nadine sharing.
I can put it up if you want.
Thank you. I'd say for this and the next application as well, when we get there. Thank you, Jonathan. And while you're doing that, I'm fine with the consents that we have for Nadine.
okay, so there was an open question as to whether or not we had the right consents on there, right? Mary Lou?
Correct. Yes, and I'm good.
The original application needed to be redone, did it not?
Yes, and the page was corrected and submitted.
Okay. The other item open was meeting with the building department with regard to flood protection for the lower levels of that building. Is that correct?
In response to that, you also had in my memorandum, it said that they will have to, when they get their building permits, they'll have to comply with floodplain standards of Chapter 64. That would include, if they're putting things in the basement, flood-proofing them, raising electrical outlets, things of that nature. But the GML comments from the county also stated that they would have to comply with that. So in the resolution I prepared for your consideration, I put the condition of the county that would, cover that they would have to comply with all floodplain standards.
Right, and that will be something that the building department works with them with if they're approved after the approval.
For instance, the tank in the back, the propane tank, in a flooding area that may be extra tie downs, part of that code. So, so it doesn't float away, that type of thing will have to be handled by the building department at the permitting stage.
Understood. And also another comment that the Ulster County Board had, talking to the fire department to just make sure that there's no concerns about the on-street parking that would be there.
Yeah, in response to that comment, the board may or may not choose to handle it the way I suggested when I prepared the resolution. But because we have testimony from the highway superintendent in the record that with parking on the street, there was a 25-foot travel way, which was plenty of passage for trucks or emergency vehicles, that you could override that comment rather than hold the applicant up to try to obtain a letter from the fire department to that effect. Also, I mentioned that this was on the agenda of the village board, and they did not, and it was reviewed by the supervisor and the village board, and they did not raise any issues on that the travel way would be in any way impaired by on-street parking.
Just to correct the record, you misspoke, said village board. You do a lot of villages, but town board in this instance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We all do it.
I was in the village last night. I'm in the village tomorrow night.
Mary,
I'll fix that. Hold on. Well, when it's time to put the resolution up, I'll fix it.
Go ahead, Doug.
Mary Lou, do you have any comments with regard to the concerns about talking to the fire department with regard to on-street?
I don't have any concerns. If the board does not have any concerns, quite frankly, we have roadways that are, I think, less wide than this in the town. And as it is right now, people can still park along that roadway.
Yes, sure.
So it's not really changing by us having given the parking waiver. There could be people parked up and down that road anyway. We're not creating new spaces.
And historically, as we discussed at the last hearing, or at the last meeting, the Cohasson Hamlet, that stretch of Main Street has been much busier in the past historically with the road just as it is, with, many more uses.
But discuss amongst yourselves.
Hello?
If I could just add to that, in the concept parking layout that we provided, the minimum width of a traveled way was 25 feet.
Feinberg.
It was wider in other locations. There was no parking proposed in and around the front of the firehouse itself. So there was nothing blocking, egress from the firehouse.
I would make a suggestion that we go ahead and open the public hearing and see if there's any comments from the public.
Do you want Nadine to give a brief
brief,
synopsis
yeah.
first?
Sure.
Sure. So
Are you having a problem?
this site is just around 1/10 of an acre, located on Main Street in Cohaston. It's an existing building that's being basically renovated. It's a multi-use building. The second story is residence and the first floor is commercial use. In this instance specifically, the renovation is for a restaurant and kind of a coffee bar retail area. There is no on-site parking. It is all off-site, on-street parking proposed that we just talked about. There is some renovations on the site in the rear yard to include the addition of a patio for outdoor seating and also a fenced area for refuse enclosure. And this project also involves a lot line adjustment with the neighbor to add about 0.039 acres from the neighbor to this parcel to make it just over 1/10 of an acre. And it allows the area of that site to be utilized for the refuse enclosure. And that's about it. I mean, it's mostly a redevelopment project. There is really no new building proposed. There's an existing shed there that, again, will generally remain reduced in size somewhat, but it will remain on the site. And other than some renovations to the exterior of the building, hopefully it will improve the area and improve it visually. And I know we did submit some elevations that show locations.
Doug is not hearing us.
Can you just not hear me? Can he hear you?
Doug, can you hear any of us? That seems like a no. Okay, he's going to sign off and back on. So if we could just wait a minute to see if that fixes things for him, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, he's frozen.
I feel like we should play some Jeopardy music while we wait for him.
Oh, back on.
Hello?
You're back.
We can hear
I
you.
hear you. Do you hear us?
Yeah, now I can. Was that
Beautiful.
just me or was that everybody?
That's just you.
Yes, you.
You're lucky tonight.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Nadine was giving us a little presentation.
Yeah, so you missed all the good parts, Doug, but
Okay. All right.
all right.
Where are we at right now with this?
Nadine's doing her presentation. I'm not sure if you had some more, Nadine.
No, I think that's pretty much it, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay, Doug, you could open the public hearing.
Yeah. Is there anyone here to comment on the pilot light, or also known as Miller and Main project? Anyone from the public here to discuss the thoughts on that project? Going once, going twice. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Don Smalsley will make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And can we check with Barbara to see if we have done seeker on this yet? I don't know if we have.
Set it to type
Yes, it
2.
was declared type 2 on April 20th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that, okay, so, in terms of the resolution,
Okay.
So did we have to override the county on parking?
Yeah, I had, in the resolution, I'll show you if you can see it on your screen. I listed the on-street parking and flooding is listed them in the letter that they sent. And then I said that I suggested that you would agree with required modification 2, which says that they have to follow all floodplain standards. And then I said that you did not wish to follow required modification 1 because the record shows that the highway superintendent and town board reviewed drawings submitted by the applicant and discussed the matter and found that the width of the travelway is more than adequate to accommodate the passage of fire trucks and emergency vehicles when cars are parked on Main Street. And it has been so in the past when more development was present on Main Street. And therefore, by this resolution, it overrides said required modification number 1 of the Ulster County Planning Board letter of May 5th.
Okay, good, thank you.
So
Yeah,
that's
it will
in
be
there.
included in the overall resolution.
Yeah.
So do we have enough members here to have a super approval?
You only need 5.
Okay, good enough.
So if you have 5, you're good.
All right, thank you.
okay, we'll proceed with the resolution. Whereas the applicant Pilot Light Productions, doing business as and Main Restaurant and Provisions, is seeking site plan and special use permit approval to renovate the existing building at 311 Main Street in Carhonkson with a restaurant and retail store on the first floor to be known as Mill and Main Restaurant and Provisions, for seating area on a patio at the rear of the building, and to renovate the second floor of said building with 2 apartments. No additions to the building. 0.14 acres from the neighbor, Sterling Green Corporation, is proposed to be conveyed to facilitate the construction of the patio seating area. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
And whereas the subject parcel is located in the MU zone district on the north side of Main Street, west of the Carhonkson Fire District and east of 42nd Street, it currently contains 3,310 square feet or 0.076 acres. An existing 2-story apartment building is located on the lot with 0 side and front setbacks. The proposal is to renovate the ground floor and establish a restaurant and small grocery craft shop with prepared foods. 2 apartments with 580 and 840 square feet respectively are proposed for the second floor. The proposed action also includes a proposed conveyance of 1,655 square feet, 0.038 acres from Sterling Green Corporation, a butter to the east, to add to the subject lot to allow for the creation of an outdoor dining area in the rear of the building. After the conveyance, the subject lot would contain 4,965 square feet, 0.114 acres, The rear of the lot has frontage on the Roundout Creek, which is a regulated FEMA floodway, excuse me, and federal wetland. The entire lot is within the 100-year floodplain. FEMA mapping establishes the 100-year flood height at 252.8 feet in this area, and the existing building basement elevation is 245.01 feet, and the existing main floor is 252.95 feet. This means a 100-year flood is projected to reach a level 1.8 inches below the main floor elevation. And whereas retail stores, shops, restaurants, and second floor dwellings are listed as special uses with site plan review permitted in the MU, as the site is on Main Street, a neighborhood master within the MU district of Onsen Hamlet. MU design guidelines found in Appendix C of the zoning code apply. Whereas the application materials submitted for special use permit approval in support of the proposed actions include a number of documents which are available online that are made part of this application. And whereas referral to the Ulster County Planning UCPB as required for the proposed special permit use pursuant to the Ulster County Planning Board Land Use Referral Guide, an agreement between Ulster County and the town of Warsing, and a GML referral comment letter received and dated May 5, 2021, with the following required modifications. On-street parking, required modification. The proposed on-street parking stalls at this location are appropriate given the volume of traffic for the area and as a means of meeting the requirements for the redevelopment of that area. The local fire department, given their proximity to the on-street parking, should coordinate with the town planning board to address any potential concerns and to verify whether the proposed parking will hinder or obstruct them during emergency responses. 2, floodplain, required modification. As noted, the property lies entirely within the 100-year floodplain. The proposal will adhere to Chapter 64 of the Town of Warsing Code, Flood Damage Prevention. Whereas the planning board agrees with the required modification number 2 of the Ulster County Planning Board, compliance with Chapter 64 of the Town of Warsing Code, Flood Damage Prevention, is included as a condition of approval below. The Planning Board does not wish to follow the required modification number 1 of the Ulster County Planning Board for the following reason. The record shows that the Highway Superintendent and the board reviewed the drawing submitted by the applicant and discussed the matter and found that the width of the travelway is more than adequate to accommodate the passage of fire trucks and emergency vehicles when cars are parked on Main Street. And it has been so in the past when more development was present on Main Street. Therefore, by this resolution, it overrides said required modification number 1 of the Ulster County Planning Board letter dated May 5, 2021. And whereas the Planning Board considered the application material submitted by the applicant in support of the proposed action, along with the comments of its consultants made via memoranda, which memoranda are incorporated herein by reference. And whereas at its meeting held 2021, the Planning Board, upon review of the entire record, including Seeker Short Form EAF Part 1, found the proposed action to be categorized as a Type 2, which requires no further environmental review. And whereas the meeting held on April 20th, 2021, the Planning Board, upon review of the entire record, waived the requirement for providing an analysis of the photometric lighting spread from the proposed patio lighting for the building. Notes have been made to the site plan indicating that the LED option for the building mounted lighting will be utilized with color temperatures of 27K or less to provide a softer, warmer light in this neighborhood where there are residential apartments nearby. And whereas at its meeting on April 2021, the planning board, upon review of the entire record, waived the requirement for providing off-street spaces pursuant to paragraph 112-15 to its downtown hamlet position on Main Street and the availability of on-street parking along this portion of Main Street. And whereas the planning board held a public hearing for this special permit use on 2021 after public notice, further be it resolved, the town of Worthing Planning Board hereby grants special use permit and site plan approval as described above for the Pilot Light Productions and overrides Ulster County Planning Board comment number 1 as discussed above, subject to the conditions, limitations, and restrictions set forth below. No change, erasures, modifications, or revisions shall be made to any site plan after approval and endorsement by the planning board. All fees, consultant fees shall be paid. The proposal will need to adhere to Chapter 64 of the Town of Worthing Code, flood damage prevention. Get a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Don Smalsley will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays?
Doug,
Yes.
because you're overriding the county, I think we should do a roll call vote, seeing as we're over Zoom, just so it's very clear.
And that's fine. I'll do that right away.
Thank you.
Dr. Lonstein,
Yes.
Eric Alexander.
Yes.
Frank Wood.
Yes.
Don Odom. Don Odom.
Oh, yes, yes.
John Schmaltzy.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
All right, good luck.
Resolution is passed. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you all very
Aye.
much.
Thank you, Dean.
Okay. And we are now at the Wagar project.
Yes.
We have folks here to representing the Wagar project.
Yes. We have the owners, Phil and Patty. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
The application before the board is for the special use permit for events that is required pursuant to the law that the town passed in December. That allows 12 events in the RU district or more if approved by the planning board. So the permit or the application includes all the requirements and criteria that the law required, including the parking, the density calculations, and basically we've been handling some events there for the last 5 years when people have stayed at the houses, primarily weddings. They've numbered approximately maybe 8, I think at the most we've had 8. We're asking for 18 because some of the events are small and insignificant. Other events are weddings, which are larger. We've asked for a maximum of 110 because the park is 55 parking spaces, which are outlined on the site plan. There's 6 acres on the property. The acreage itself allows, according to the law, 250 guests, but we're limiting it to the number of parking spaces. I'm available to answer any questions.
You say you in the past you had previously had these functions at that location?
Yes, sir.
Was that ever before the? I don't seem to recall.
We didn't hear you, Doug.
Can't hear.
Did that ever come before the planning board? Because I don't seem to recall. I'm sure it probably did, but I don't recall it. Can you hear me?
No, it did not, because there wasn't a law requiring a special use permit at that time.
Permit.
That's why musicians have weird hours. Stay up all night, and they only hang out with other musicians.
I hear background.
If people could mute their phones if they're not talking.
The public will have an opportunity to speak when the public hearing is open. And if, until then, you could put your microphones on mute. It's hard for the board and everyone else to hear the presentations with background noise. Thank you so much.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think Jonathan and Frank went up there to look at the site today. Can I hear their findings?
Absolutely. Frank, would you like to start?
I think Jonathan should start. Actually, he's the planner there. There are a number of houses around this, unlike the last event law that we passed in previously. And that may be a concern, which we got to listen to on the public. We also received comments from Ulster County that should be there, and there may be some issues that will go to, if approved, would go to the building department. But that's based on whether they get the approval or not.
Understood. Jonathan, would you like to give us your comments on this?
Sure. I think I'd like to I'm looking at my memorandum from May 10th, and I'll just quickly go through it, and then I'll also amplify it with other things that I saw when I went with Frank out to visit the site today. We have found that because the site's greater than 3 acres, the number of guests he's proposing, 110, does fit within the limits of the event law. And there are 3 points of access on the site, which is the correct number according to the event law. We have not seen, at least I have not seen yet, any type of letter or sign off from the emergency services on this. As stated, the law allows 12 per year as a default. Anyone asking for more than that needs special permission from the board. And after discussing the capacity of the roads around the area, the nature of the neighborhood, and the noise, the board really probably should try and determine tonight whether they would be willing, or you as a board would be willing, to allow more than 12, or whether you want them to stick to the default number. We looked at the parking area. Some now is proposed on grass. Some is on existing gravel areas. And the plan has been cleared up, showing clearly where the edge of the grass is, where the edge of the gravel is. The applicant is not proposing to dig up any more grass or change any more of the area into a parking lot, and is proposing some parking on the grass right in front of the barn. We had been recommending in our memos that landscape plants, shrubs, trees be planted along the 2 sides of the existing parking lot on Ulster Heights Road and Marcus Road, and also in the area in front of the barn where the cars are going to be parked on the grass. On the resubmitted plan, the applicant did not indicate adding any landscaping. But also now at this time, the Ulster County Planning Board, in one of their required modifications, has asked for a landscape plan. There's no outdoor lighting on the site now. the Ulster County Planning Board in their letter has asked for a specific lighting plan should the applicant want to put up any type of outdoor lighting that would, which may be needed to get people to their cars after events in the dark and such. We got some correspondence from the Ulster County Department of Health that they did not take jurisdiction to review this. On the last event law application, you had gotten some comments from the health department, but they did not comment on this one. The event management plan has been resubmitted, and they've clarified the definitions of what they'll count as an event and what they won't count as an event, and we concur with that methodology. If people who are renting the house, who have a cookout or whatever, that's not an event. An event is when the people who are not renting the house invite guests to come for a party. That's the event. So hopefully that would help in clearing up what's an event and what's not. So we're still looking for some comments from the emergency services. You already classified this as a type 2. Ulster County was concerned about noise. When we visited the site, we noted that the barn is a beautiful old barn, but as many barns are, there's some daylight shining through the chinks between the boards, and that may mean that it isn't particularly noise proof. If there's noise inside, it could get out to some extent rather than solid walls. Also, the large barn doors do face the house across the street. We noticed that there will need to be modifications to the barn to make it meet code as an assembly area. There's no handicapped access. The doors do not seem to be easily operable. The big sliding doors look like they were kind of stuck shut. The entrance into the rear of the barn from the lean-to area has some very steep stairs that don't meet code, with railings that don't meet code. On the interior, there's balcony area and stairs up to the loft that would require guardrails and handrails and balusters, and there may need to be electrical work and other code work, exit signs, wiring upgrades. But those would all be handled should the event venue be approved by this board. The building department would be required to issue a certificate of occupancy for the barn before it could be used for an event, and all of those things would be handled. But after visiting the property with Frank, we were aware of all of the things that might be needed for the venue, as well as there is one storage area of the barn that still has a lot of equipment, like mowers and things stored. So that would probably need to be separated from the event area or cleaned out. The counties asked as a modification a lighting plan, a road permit from county highway for entrance on 52, They've asked for a landscaping plan with landscaping along the parking. They have also asked for a noise study. They would ask that the applicant essentially simulate a party with amplified sound with music, or or announcements that would go on at an event, and then measure it at the property lines with noise meter to determine whether it would be within limits of the noise ordinance. And of all of the different county comments, the only one that I would suggest the board might want to consider an override is on the parking number, because they calculated a requirement of 75 spaces, which was based on a prior version of the application that had a maximum of 150 guests. They've since lowered their maximum to 110 and are providing the required number of spaces. So in terms of number of parking spaces, I don't believe that is any longer a problem with the new submittal. So that is my report. Frank, did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered everything.
Could I just add a couple of things before we, if there's a motion to open the public hearing? Is that okay, Chairman Hart? Can you hear me?
Doug?
Doug,
Doug, you there?
Uh-oh.
Doug, you're on mute.
At the top right of the box. Your
Doug,
image.
there you
Can you
go.
hear us? Can you hear us, Doug?
Doug,
Doug?
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna give him a call. Have him try to call in on his phone.
Or have him reconnect.
Yeah, we're getting that sort of gears grinding sound that we were getting before when his sound went weird.
Yeah, he logged off. He's trying to come back in now again.
There's no substitute for real meetings.
That's true.
Doug,
Doug,
can you hear us?
us?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay.
All right.
I was asking.
Question was from Mr. Comey. He was asking you as chair whether he could just respond a little bit before you open the public hearing up.
I defer to Mary Lou. Mary Lou, what's usually done in a case like this? Do we wait, or do we have the?
Totally in the board's discretion. If you can let him speak if you'd like to. I don't have any problem with that.
It may answer some of the comments, the questions, if you speak now, Mr. Combs.
Thank you. There should have been delivered to the planning board secretary I have a copy of a letter from the First Aid and Rescue Squad. They've reviewed the site and find no problems with that. I did speak with the fire district, and they didn't really know why we were asking for their input, because the house, the main structure is 50 feet from the road, 25 feet from the road, and the barn is approximately 60 feet from a county road, and their trucks would probably stay right on the edge of that road to fight the fire because they can't get too close to the building. So they really did not understand what we were looking for. So there was no comment from them, except I did receive dimensions and turning radii and other types of particulars on the fire trucks. And the last thing was that in regard to the landscaping of the screening for plants, if that is the board's pleasure, that's something we will do. Of course, if you go through, see fit to approve this, then there will be contingencies, I'm sure. Thank you.
Okay. Frank, did you have anything to add to Jonathan's comments, or did I miss that?
No, Jonathan pretty much covered everything. We're going to get a motion to open the public hearing.
Yeah, we don't. I don't think we need a motion.
No,
for
you don't need a motion. But before you do open the public hearing, Mr. Chairman, I would just ask that you note that we have several letters, pieces of correspondence from the public that will all be made part of the record, and all of the board members have received them.
Correct. We had, as Mary Lou has just mentioned, we have received numerous pieces of correspondence from people in support and against this particular project, and they are part of the record. And at this point, we can open the public hearing. Mary Lou?
Yes, I recommend that people on the meeting, there's a raise hand function, or if you can't find it, just actually raise your hand. And then when you're recognized by the chair, unmute yourself, okay?
Yeah. Should I be able to see them?
If unfortunately, when I have the drawing up, it'll be easier to see people if I take the drawing down.
Yeah, why don't we
So why don't I do that? That way, if you're in gallery view, you can see a lot more people. If you go in the upper right where it says view and switch to gallery view, you should be able to get like 4 rows of faces, 5 across. You could see 20 people at once.
Yeah, is Paul Tuzolino?
Yeah, Doug, I'm here. We have 2 hands that are raised right now. Thomas's iPad and Peyton. So
Speak. If I can't unmute them, then I'm going to ask you to do it.
they unmuted themselves.
Okay.
Hi, my name is, oh, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Tracy Moza. My husband and I own the property located at 540 Ulster Road. We live directly across from the Wager Farm property. 11 years ago, we bought, I'm sorry? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. 11 years ago, we bought our house with the expectation that we'd be living in a quiet, peaceful country setting, considering we live 2.5 miles out of the village. We are here tonight to say that we do not want to live next to a wedding and party venue, and we have a right to have a peaceful enjoyment of our property. Our house is approximately 230 feet off of the road. The road is approximately 25 feet, and the barn in which the weddings and parties are located is approximately 50 feet off the road on the other side. When the weddings and parties are taking place in the barn, we are able to hear the DJ from inside of our home. We can hear the wedding party being announced. We can hear the bride and groom being announced. We can hear every single song that is being played. There are no buffers in between the front of our home and that barn. Mr. Coombs indicated to the planning board that the barn door is always shut. That is not the case, as we can hear everything and I can see the wedding going on each time there's an event there. The only time that those barn doors are shut is when it's raining outside. Mr. Coombs stated that Mrs. Coombs, I'm sorry, stated to the board that the noise from the waterfall drowns out the noise. I'm not sure what noise that's drowning out because we clearly hear everything that's going on inside the barn. We can also hear the party goers that congregate in the front lawn during the wedding and the parties. In Chapter 78 of the Town of Worthing Codes, the noise ordinance for the Town of Worthing states that from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., the noise emanating from your property cannot exceed 73 decibels. This decibel reading occurs when determined by a sound level measure at the adjoining property line nearest to the sound source. That means that the noise over 73 decibels is not permitted over my property line. My property line, again, is right directly across from him, less than 25 feet. Any reasonable person will be able to tell you that you're not going to have a DJ playing in that barn and the noise won't carry over my property line at the rate exceeding 73 decibels. The CDC guidelines for decibel readings is 73 is a toilet flushing, the equivalent to a toilet flushing. The lighting from the DJ strobes come through our windows. Mr. Coombs parks cars on the front lawn sometimes. When they're leaving in the events, the car lights shine directly into our home, illuminating our living room and bedrooms. And this is continuous until the last car leaves the event. The traffic is a constant issue. Ulster Heights Road is a heavily traveled road on a normal day. During the summer, the traffic increases because of the camps and bungalow colonies on the road. The extra traffic that these events brings increases it even further. Over the years, we have had his guests turn around in our driveway. We have had his guests drive up our driveway. We have had people asking to park in our driveway. Mr. Coombs places cones in the road as a deterrent to slow the traffic down. He is only one person and is not able to control all the traffic, and this is going to be an accident waiting to happen. Mr. Coombs indicated to the board that he is always there during every single event: Friday setup, Saturday the event, and Sunday cleanup. So I'm not sure where he was on the one wedding where it turned into a car show, and that Sunday afternoon, all the participants at that particular wedding were racing up and down Ulster Heights Road in their cars. There's no court enforcement on the weekends. If we have an issue, who and what is the burden of proof? It's going to be on us. If the property is approved for events, we, the neighbors, will have to monitor every event to ensure that the traffic does not become cumbersome and that the noise does not travel onto our properties. The code enforcement officer is to get notified of an event 3 days prior. Where is the consideration for the people surrounding it, since we live directly across and sort of 2 other of our neighbors, when we have 100+ people, strange people, directly near our home? Mr. Coombs and his wife are selling the property. Anyone can look up the property on the various real estate sites and see that the property is listed for sale. It also lists the property as having a pending sale. He has a buyer. On May 7th, while I was out walking my dog, I saw the 2 men that are purchasing the property. I asked them, "Are you guys going to be the new owners?" And they said yes. They have a website. It is listed as HudsonValleyWeddingBarn.com. These buyers indicated in a meeting with the supervisor that I was there and witnessed, that they are looking to hold 30 to 50 events per year with upwards of 250 guests. They would like to have Friday night concerts. They want to hold parties throughout the week. The buyers were told that the event law only allows 12 events per year. They indicated that if they were allowed to have 18, that they would be able to make enough money and possibly have it raised later. Mr. Coombs later indicated that the buyers had pulled out. That's obviously not the case. On March 25th, the building department received a letter from CTI Abstract Corp requesting evidence or certificates of occupancy on the property. The LCC requesting the information is Fox and Bear Farm, LLC, the same people that indicated that they were going to buy the property. I'm sorry, this is so upsetting to me. This request shows an interest on the property. On the property shows that a sale is pending. Fox and Bear is a commercial entity and will be running a business out of the property. We are zoned rural. Their website has a picture of the barn with the words "coming soon." Their Instagram page states that they are buying the property. It states to book a wedding in 2021 and 2022. You wouldn't have an Instagram page if you weren't going to be buying this property. You wouldn't have a picture of the barn on your Instagram page or your webpage if you weren't buying the property. Mr. Coombs is coming before the planning board requesting the board grant him this special use permit, and he's also requesting that the board allow him to have 18 events. He isn't doing this for himself. He's doing this because he knows that he will have a better chance with this board approving his application than his buyer. He is presenting an event plan to this board with no intentions on being there to execute the proposed plan. Mr. Coombs spoke about having a great relationship with his neighbors and that the neighbors never had any complaints. My husband and I are here today to tell you that that is absolutely not true. My husband and I have had numerous conversations with Mr. Coombs over the years about the traffic and the noise. We have never formally complained to the town of Warsing about the events taking place. If this property is approved for events and our right to the peaceful enjoyment of our home is interrupted, we will be making formal complaints to the building department with proof of our complaints every single event. Last year, the Coombs were unable to hold events because of COVID. This made us realize how much of a burden it has been over the years and how we no longer want to deal with having a wedding venue directly across the street from our home where we live. In the previous years, we were trying to be neighborly, but at this point, the gesture has been taken advantage of. We would like to also note that if we try to sell our property in the future, we feel that the resale of our home will be greatly affected by the fact that we have a wedding venue across the street from our home. Who in their right mind would want to buy a home directly across from a wedding venue? They would have to deal with the traffic. They would have to deal with the party guests. They would have to deal with the noise from the DJ and entertainment. Again, we state that we have the right to live our lives in peace and quiet and enjoy our home without the noise of the traffic. The Coombs have never asked permission from the town to hold these events. We live in an RU district. An RU district never allowed events to take place such as he's been holding. They are not controllable events. The noise levels are not controllable at these parties. They are not able to keep the noise within the barn. Not only are they asking for the special use permit, the Coombs are asking for an approval for 18 events. It was stated that the Yoga Vita Farms venue was approved for 18 events. The Yoga Vita Farms venue is on Lundy Road. The closest neighbor to that event venue is 4 miles away. We, the residents of the area surrounding the Wager Farm, are less than 25 to 300 feet away. That is far cry from 4 miles. When considering his application, please take into consideration that we live in a rural area. If they are granted this permit and an exception of 18 events per year is granted, that will be our entire summer and well into the fall that we will have to deal with this burden. We ask if you would be okay with having this across from your home. Would you be okay with having to sit in your living room and have to deal and listen to a DJ every Saturday night? Would you be okay with having to lie in your bed and having to hear loud partygoers screaming and yelling to the sounds of the DJ? And finally, we ask if the Coombs would be okay with dealing with the DJ every Saturday night across from their house. Would they want to deal with the traffic outside of their home? Would they want to deal with this directly across from where they live? I assure you that their answer would be no.
Now, we're gonna have to, I know we have other folks that want to speak as well. So, if we have someone else who would like to speak at this time, thank you.
I would like to speak if I can.
Comments.
I would like to speak if I can.
Sure.
My name is Peyton Exter, and this is my husband, Joe. We live at 577 Ulster Heights Road. We are directly across from their parking lot. I have 2 small daughters, one of which we're walking around the house in a stroller right now because she's teething. I cannot even fathom the idea of having that area, which is right there. My daughter's bedroom window is right here. Now, how many feet would you say?
Less than 25 feet.
I mean, less than 25 feet away from this parking lot where there's going to be lights. There's going to be people getting in and out of their cars, hanging out by their cars, tailgating before this party or after or during this party. I have, like I said, I have 2 small daughters. The idea of dealing with that all summer at all, even is just is a nightmare. You're going to keep my kids awake. You're going to have all of these people who I don't know. You're talking about 150 people literally like 10 feet from my yard drinking and hanging out or whatever that they're doing. I mean, you're not talking about a baby shower. You're talking about a wedding or a party or a high school graduation or, and right. The noise pollution from the generator, the lights, the having the traffic. We're right here on Marcus Crossroad. I mean, just having traffic in and out of this parking lot and coming onto the street, and who's going to make sure that these people aren't leaving drunk? Who's going to make sure these people aren't, driving they're during the day, they're out here. Who's to say they can't just walk onto my property if they're, drunk and see anything. I'm not a fan. We just moved in. My husband's grandfather lived here before us and he was pretty deaf, but the lights bothered him and he didn't want to say anything to anybody because he was very old school and he didn't want to be unneighborly and cause any problems with anybody. But he would say the lights from this thing would shine directly into his bedroom and keep him awake. But he didn't want to be problematic and he was just old school that way. So I'm not, like I said, we just moved in and I'm not looking forward to having any kind of anything, ruckus of any sort to that scale, 10 feet from my daughter's window at night. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comment.
For John, they got to see it.
Do we have other comments? Go ahead, please.
Hi, this is Walter Evans. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. I don't have video up. I just have a couple of things that cause concern for me. The traffic, I understand it's parking. It doesn't keep people off the road. Numerous times I've come up that road in the dark and almost clipped people coming up All Sides Road. I'm sorry. Did you freeze or can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
The one that really red flags when I was listening to the description of events, I noticed that in the description, it says that it will not qualify as an event if the house is being rented. That sounds like a really big loophole to have 50 parties a year. Because all you have to do is rent the house, and then anybody you invite over, that it won't count as an event. It sounds like that verbiage was put in there deliberately. So I would ask that you consider that as well.
John,
I'm sorry, can I ask a question on that?
yes,
Is that on our law or is that on the application?
That was on the application.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Dr. Weinstein, our law doesn't, precisely define what an event is, which leaves the board room to do that. And anyone who owns a house in Wawarsing can have a party, and anyone who owns a house in Wawarsing can rent it out because Airbnbs happen, and there's no regulation of that in Wawarsing. So you have to try to somehow make a distinction, and this is a difficult one. We've discussed this before, is that individual homes can have parties occur onto them, but when you advertise on the internet at your place as a venue for strangers to assemble as a commercial enterprise, then you're under the event law.
it's not, it's not,
Okay, thank you for clarification.
you got to speak up.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
All right, this is John Graffio. I own the horse farm directly behind the Coombs property. In regard to the application for a special use permit submitted by Philip Patricia Coombs, who owned the property at 541 Ulster Heights Road in Ellenville, New York, we are totally objecting to this proposal plan. We reside at 35 Marcus Road, in which borders the property. We have a horse barn, and we have owned the property since 1969. It's always been a residential agricultural property. We have bred and trained show horses for years, and in this peaceful, serene location. In 2019, the events that were held at the Wager Farm proved to be very disturbing to us and our horses. Due to the noise level, we did not complain because I thought of the Coombs as a family. I knew their parents very well. Well, due to the pandemic, there were no events last year. However, this application by the Coombs for a special use permit, we are very concerned that if approved, will have serious negative consequences for the horses as well as our personal privacy. With uncontrollable level of noise, traffic, and the ability to enjoy the peaceful serenity of our own property, we ask to please deny the special use permit. But I also like to include, we also have a tremendous amount of people that come around from these parties that walk up the road, and they want to look at the horses, and horses are very sensitive animals. And it's detrimental for the horses to have people around them like that aren't aware. Another thing is the noise level is outrageous. We can actually sit right here at the house and hear every song that is played by the DJ, as Tracy had mentioned earlier. So to say no one complained, we were going to complain, but because we knew the Coombs' family, we did not. So in closing, I would like to say one more thing. My son is building a home here right next to us. And he said that if this goes through, he's not going to do it because of the sound, because he wants to have the peaceful surroundings that we do. So, I mean, this should be a very strong consideration because of the horse farm, because ourselves, and we hopefully close this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have anyone else who wishes to speak?
I'm sorry, Doug, I have a question for the Graffios.
Sure.
The footbridge that goes over the Good Bear Kill. I know it's not your property. The property is Yasuo Lawrence. But why is there a footbridge there? Do you have any, because it looks like it's so close to your property line.
The line, what happens is they built the bridge with no one knowing about it. Okay. Now the bridge goes on to basically our property. Once you get off that bridge, you have to walk down to the falls. And I think they put it there because they don't have access to Hanging Rock Falls. When they built the bridge, people can get over that side and go down our side.
And how long ago did they build a bridge?
I didn't know. I was just told, and I went down, I took pictures, and we submitted the pictures.
It's about 5 years ago, 4 to 5 years, 6 years ago.
In building department, Robin?
Yes.
Do we need a DEC approval for a bridge going over the Good Bear Kill?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
Yes, I also
Can you
want
guys hear
to.
me? Would you like Desiree or Brett to go next? Doug, you get to pick.
Ladies first.
Hi, thanks. My name is Desiree Prush. I live at 560 Ulster Heights Road. I am across from the parking lot. So I purchased my house in December of 2014. When I first purchased it, there was no parking lot. It was just a field. I purchased it with the intent of kind of having neighbors, but also having privacy. I don't believe there was really any events going on then. If there were, they were pretty minimal. The parking lot construction was also burdensome enough. So my concern would be if they do try to expand more parking, how much noise that's going to come into my house. And the noise in general, I can actually sit on my back porch and listen to every song, hear it word for word from the barn. So the barn is 100% not noise proof at all. I can also hear the announcements from inside my house. And because I'm across from the parking lot, there's definitely more parking, more cars than I think are allowed to be parked there. And the noise doesn't stop at 10. The noise goes all night long with the car doors, people coming in and out, drinking in the parking lot. And anytime there's an event, I just have to completely keep my windows closed, my blinds closed. Pretty much a parking lot full of strangers that I don't really want looking into my house. I also have 2 dogs, so it's pretty much an all-day thing of just barking, doors, noise. And I also can't agree to, sorry, I forgot her name, lives at 577 with the light with her husband's grandfather. I've always seen it go into his house, so I can definitely agree that that light was pretty much shining directly into his house. And just like everyone else, I was also pretty much being neighborly. Didn't really want to say anything. It was a few times a year. I just dealt with it, but if it's going to be every weekend, that's not something I want to pretty much experience living in my home every single weekend. And also for resale value of my house, I do plan on moving in the near future. So my concern would be resale value, not only for my house, but anyone else around me. If I didn't purchase, when I purchased this house, I wasn't across from a wedding venue. So I don't really imagine who would want to purchase the house. It's directly across from a wedding venue, especially across the street from the parking lot. And that, I believe it pretty much covered everything. I know everyone else kind of spoke everything. I do have a question though. The planning board, remember you mentioned the certificate of occupancy would be needed if this was to be approved. Is that something that would need to be approved going forward for any more events?
The certificate of occupancy would be from the building department?
Yes, and the event law requires that prior to each event, let's say there were 12, or for argument's sake, because that's the default number, not only would initially the barn need to be made safe and occupiable under building and fire codes, but then there would be a recheck before each event. And we've discussed that, as part of the last event law approval, but that is in the event law.
Mhm. So there are safeguards on that.
Yes, and that would be
I'm
new
done.
because prior to the event law, there really wasn't a regulation or a special use permit process for events, and now there is.
Understood. Next person to speak.
Doug, I'm sorry. I'm going to be asking a lot of questions.
Right, all right. Well, just jump
Person,
in.
since the parking lot was brought up, Robin, is Tony here tonight?
Yes, he is.
Tony, was there a driveway, was there a permit issued for that parking lot on Marcus?
On Marcus Road, there was a parking thing originally right there.
I'm sorry?
There was an original one there.
There was an original one there at one time.
How long? Because I remember it just being forest, overgrown.
No, it was always a field.
There's a
Oh.
field right there. That's where it's going in there.
And there
Okay,
was an
thank you.
access in on off of Marcus.
All right, thank you.
Can Brett go now?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Brett Sroka. I'm living at 22 Marcus Road. And I also want to voice my objection to the permit application. I've just moved here in August, and I moved here because it was a beautiful, peaceful site, and I do recall some point not long after I moved here, perhaps September, October, there was an event or a party or something that happened at Wagar Farm. I was surprised because of COVID restrictions, but something was going on with quite a loud DJ, and it was thumping late into the night, and I could hear it quite clearly. I'm across Beer Kill and across Marcus Road, and I recall thinking, I hope this isn't going on all the time, and so I also want to voice my objection.
Thank you.
I do have something else that is pretty pertinent that my wife spoke, but I would like to say a few things.
Sure.
So first off, Phil got 4 letters of support or whatever. So first, the board needs to look at those letters and where they came from. And honestly, they need to go in the trash because they are in conflict. TJ Briggs sent one. TJ Briggs mows his lawns. He's a beneficial financially, okay? Sammy Brown's, she caters there financially. Of course she's going to send a nice letter. This David Sveka or whatever guy, he never lived here when they had events. Desiree bought that house, then they had events. So that's just a lie. The 4th one, I don't even know. But at the end of the day, what this board needs to understand, this is a big charade. This is a snake oil salesman. This place is sold to Fox and Bear LLC. I can read you their Instagram. They admitted the other day that they bought it at 541 Ulster Heights Road. There is no secret here. He just thinks we're all idiots and we don't know what is going on. The property is sold. And to be perfectly honest with you, he's had so much construction going on there this week, I wouldn't doubt that if he got what he wanted, they'd be closing tomorrow. It is sold. This is done for Fox and Bear LLC, not Phil Coombe. Phil Coombe wants out, and that's fine, but he's not going to take all of our lives and throw it up in the air, take his $1 million and walk away. That's not fair. And I would ask that the board have the right to deny this totally and have 0 events. We are an RU district. This Fox and Bear, if you look at their Instagram, you look at their website, they are promoting a concert venue, a wedding venue, this venue, that venue. Once again, this is why Phil is here tonight, to get this for them. Then he's leaving. He is not staying. We will have to deal with the Fox and the Bear, who have a condo in New York City, and this is all public knowledge. And if you would like copies of their LLC and everything else, I literally have it all right here, and I can get it to you.
Mary Lou, legally, what do we do if it's sold, if it's under contract, or is it under contract, or?
Of course he's going to say it's not. But it is.
What you're giving, if you approve this, you would be approving a permit for the property, not for the owners.
Exactly.
So, you know,
All right, so we can move
Mr. and
forward.
Mrs. Coombe, do you still own the property?
Today?
Today?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay. In the event that while these proceedings are continuing, they sell the property, then the new property owner would have to substitute themselves as the applicant. If, and this is hypothetical, if they did receive an approval and then they sold the property, the new property owner would inherit that approval.
Okay.
Go with the land.
Goes with the property. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
If not, Chairman Hart, I would recommend not closing the public hearing at this time. I think we need to continue it. That's my suggestion, because we do have lots of suggestions from the Ulster County Planning Board. You've heard a lot of suggestions tonight. So we may want to have a motion to keep the public hearing open until the June meeting.
Yeah, we
I'll
have a
make that
motion
John
by Paul, second by,
So moved.
who was the second?
Dr. Lonstein.
I do have a question, Mary Lou.
Sure.
Is how does this, they've had events there before the law. Is this a case of the use being a pre-existing, and
No.
how does that affect the approval process and so on?
Now, I don't believe it was, because I don't believe that was zoned that you could have anything like this here. There wasn't anything in the zoning that allowed that. Robin, would you agree? Because you're the
That's
builder.
correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We have a motion to keep the public hearing open. We also have a second.
Hey, Mr. Hart, one more thing for Jonathan, since he's the planner. Phil submitted these new plans also with a 100-foot buffer. How does that exclude him from all of the work and construction he did right on the water that is there in the buffer? And in the captioning, it says no further construction. So what? He basically builds a bridge, builds a patio, builds everything he built down there, but that's okay without any permits or approvals or anything, just nothing further? That's crazy.
No one ever said that, actually.
I'm
That would
asking
be
the
a
question.
building.
That's
That would be a build. Well, just to let everyone know, what we're doing is gathering information, and that's very good information. And we appreciate that. And I think we give that to Robin to look at, whether things were built properly or not. But we're here to listen to you. So, and you've all brought up a lot of really good information. But I think, Doug, am I correct that we're done for now? You're going for tonight?
What I'd like to do,
on public comment, and you can vote on the motion.
yeah, we need to vote on the motion to keep the public hearing open at this time. The motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, so the public hearing has been kept open. I'd like to thank everybody for their comments this evening. Is there anyone who hasn't had a chance to speak yet?
Well, we've kept it open, so we're done with tonight, and they can certainly continue to submit things. Thomas, you had mentioned that you had things. If you want to submit them and make them part of the record, absolutely send
she'll have
them
them
in.
tomorrow. No problem.
Okay.
And I have some suggestions as to, now that the public comment portion of tonight is closed, what the board might do this evening for the application to move forward.
Proceed, Jonathan.
My suggestion is that you give the applicants directions at this point. If he wishes to proceed with the application, many of the things that you'd wish for him to submit to back up the application, particularly as required by the county planning board referral letter, such as the noise study, plans to bring the barn up to certificate of occupancy level, fire and safety codes for assembly of 110 people, with handicapped access, railings, electrical upgrades, exit signs, all those things, doors with the proper hardware, as well as landscaping plans, as the required modifications wanted in the county letter, lighting specifications for any lighting that's going to be added, and as well as, and I'm sure the board may want to add others, but at a minimum, I would suggest that before we bring this to another session before the board, that those submittals be required of the applicant.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. I was thinking the same.
You might want to look at,
There's also a proposed event, just so you know, there's an event on the 30th, which is
Okay.
next Saturday. I want to make sure
you
that,
can talk that,
Okay,
is
yeah,
that
you
going to
can
be
talk
okay?
to the building department about
Okay.
that tomorrow. That's a building department issue.
We're accepting no further public comment tonight.
public comments are closed for this evening. Mary Lou, in terms of Jonathan's comments with regard to making the applicant aware of certain things that should be addressed or need to be addressed before it can move forward as put forth by the Ulster County Planning Board. What are your comments on that?
I agree. I would require that those things be submitted. We might want to talk a little bit more about what we would like to see in the noise study. You may also, after listening to comments tonight, wish to get a traffic study.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. Robin, was any permits issued for these properties?
No.
No. I would actually like to see, like, from the start, I would like to see this property, the other Wager Farm property, the path that goes through someone else's property. I would like to see a whole way of this thing is going to, how it's supposed to work. If there was permission for the path to go through someone else's property.
Bridge over the Bear Kill.
Well, I already talked about that.
The bridge over the Bearkill, if it's a walking path, that's not building code related, so there wouldn't be a building permit from me.
Right, but you see, we talked about that.
As far as a path between somebody else's property, that's a legal matter. That's not a building department issue. Mary Lou can attest to that. That has nothing to do with the town of Warsing Building Department.
Okay.
As far as Wager Farms being a boarding house in its heyday, that is the truth. It was a boarding farm.
Yeah, but grandfather clause is 3 years, going from a residence that Conrad Eck lived in there for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's, last meeting it was called a residence, and then later it was called lodging. So.
Well, we right now in the town of Warsing do not have an ordinance in relationship to Airbnbs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at this moment in time, the town of Warsing cannot review such thing as an Airbnb because we don't have legislation. So I can't violate somebody on a law that
I didn't
does
ask
not.
you to violate. You know, I didn't ask that.
So some of the questions that you're asking is nothing to do with the town of Warsing Building Department.
Okay.
So, Robin, I don't know if you know this or not. Do you know when it was last used as a boarding house?
Honestly, I cannot answer that question.
I think it was in the application.
Yeah, I recall it in the narrative of the
That does sound.
couple months back.
Okay, well, let me go through the paperwork and let me.
Well, that's okay. That's okay, because we can look at that.
Yeah, I don't want to
just want
say.
to make
I
sure
don't
we
want
have
to
the
say a date
information.
and then be wrong.
Right. And now that Paul mentioned it, I do recall that as well. So we can look. But at this point, we should decide what else we want from the applicant before we schedule the next public hearing.
But yeah, I agree. I think the best starting point is obviously the Ulster County Planning Board's recommendations.
But for the parking lot, because I think they made an error on that, and so does Jonathan.
Okay.
Because they said for 75, but with 110 people, we only need 55.
Yes.
That still leaves us with buffers and landscaping and noise
Lighting, noise.
and the necessity to bring the barn up to minimum standards.
Yeah, the code issues of the bringing the barn up to minimum standards. I don't believe that was in the county letter.
That's not in the county letter.
That was in my report with the visit with Frank. And honestly, without having been in the barn, that was a really a new area of concern that knowing that the event law requires a certificate of occupancy before an event can be held, we noted many things that would need to be done in the barn, and that had never really been discussed.
Well, that wouldn't be discussed, until after the Town of Warsaw Planning Board granted approval.
Right.
Granted approval, then the paper would be submitted to the building department that I would review to make sure that it did comply with the fire code.
Right, I agree with you, Robin, but I think it'd be good for the applicant to know while they're trying to figure out how to improve their application that
that is correct.
And it may involve some site plan issues, because for instance, if they want to build some decks to get to have people do the handicapped access by.
I have already been at the site and I have met with Mr. Coombe.
Yeah.
And I had given him a preliminary walkthrough a couple of weeks back, and I had visually reviewed it with him as to what things I would be looking for if in fact the Town of Warsaw Planning Board had granted him approval. So Mr. Coombe is aware that there will be things that need to be modified to his property that would be required a building permit for.
Right, and some of them may involve areas outside of the building's footprint, that would go on the site plan.
Correct.
Right. So if he's adding, if the Coombs are adding anything to get to that point, they would have to amend their site plan to show that. But yeah, I would say everything other than the parking from the county comments. I don't know that the county was very specific on the noise study. I believe they did mention making sure that it's in compliance at the lot lines and doing some modeling or testing with both the barn doors open and the barn doors closed for amplified music.
The wording
I think we want to look at that. I think we also would like to have their noise study show any possible mitigation measures. I know of other old barns that we've had in other towns where Jonathan said there's chinks between, you can see the sunlight from inside. In other towns, we've had those filled in. And it's kind of sad because it's an old barn, but the noise and definitely escapes there. We've had plantings for buffers. We've had insulated panels inside the barn to buffer some of the noise. So, I don't know what would be appropriate or if it's even doable with this barn being so close to other homes. But I'd recommend those things go into a noise study. And also let's talk about that first before we move on to traffic. Is that something
and
the
also
board would like to do?
We also need to discuss in the noise study, they have to simulate the types of noise that would occur. The music would have to be as loud during the study as it really would be if there was a party, and really make sure that the noise study simulated what might really happen.
Yeah, music as well as patrons
And announcements too.
and announcements, right?
Do we need to put this in a document to the applicant?
Jonathan sends something out on day 2, but you should have a motion to request all of those items. But before you do that motion, how do you feel about having a traffic study?
I think a traffic study would be appropriate. I do. How's the rest of the board feel?
Well, from public comment, it sounded like there was a lot of traffic when the events were going on, so I think there should be.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so somebody like to make a motion to have the applicant provide everything specified in Ulster County Planning Board recommendation, required modifications other than parking.
Other than parking.
And for the noise study to have those items that were just mentioned by Jonathan and I, which Jonathan will specify in a letter to the applicant.
Yeah, I'll send out the checklist in the morning.
And that a traffic study be done.
Yep.
And one more thing before you do the motion, I don't, we have the map of the property itself, which is what's required. Do you want placement of the houses, the locations of the houses on the surrounding properties, so you can see just how far they are?
Well, we're being told.
Or we could look at Ulster County Parcel Viewer and just see.
Mary Lou,
Print
do
that out.
do we typically ask, have a motion for that, or don't we, you typically just ask the applicant to provide these things? I was just wondering why you were.
Motion to ask them to provide them, to make it official.
Because I don't remember ever asking, having a motion for these things. It was always just comply with the, either the Ulster County planning or our planners' comments and so on. I just was wondering if there was a special reason for having a motion.
I thought we did them all the time. We certainly should.
Yeah, I just don't recall having them.
Okay.
That's fine.
Do you want to just look at the Ulster County Parcel Viewer to see where the homes are in relation? That's easy enough,
Yeah, I think that would be sufficient. I don't.
rather than have one more thing that has to be done.
Yeah, we are asking for a lot of information.
Okay, so is there a motion for those items?
This is Don Odom. I'll make that motion. I'm not sure if I can repeat it back to you, but I'll definitely make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
And you don't have to repeat it back because we've got it on record.
Good.
Yeah, and what I'll do logistically is when I make a checklist for the applicant tomorrow morning, I'll review it. I'll call Robin and see if it has everything that she remembers, and then she can check the recording and her notes for the minutes and make sure we haven't missed anything.
And Jonathan always sends me those things as well.
Yeah, and Mary Lou can look at it. So we'll send it's sort of like pre-minutes of the meeting when I make the checklist.
So did we vote on this yet?
No, but I have a discussion on it. So just that, even though we're like Don said before, that we used to just do this. Now we have a motion on it. Are we going to be locked into all the stuff only on that? If more stuff comes up from.
No, you can.
Okay, thank you.
You can, if something comes up at the next public hearing, you say, wait, we need more information, you can ask for.
Yeah, because I don't remember the emotions on these things either.
And it's always the case with a planning board proceeding that if you receive the noise study and that leads to other questions,
sure,
you can submit, you can ask for more information. That just because you didn't ask for it today doesn't mean you can't ask for it tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
And this brings up something else. vote on that first. Let's not, then I'll talk about the something else.
All right. The vote in favor of the motion to notify the applicant of the certain requirements that we're discussing tonight. All in favor?
Yes.
Any nays?
Okay, the next item I have is, once you get all these things in, you're gonna need some professional review of those. I'm not sure what we have in escrow, Barbara. We may want to increase that.
She's writing. So she heard you. She's just writing right now.
And I guess I would jump onto that in that we will need to involve the town engineer, Mr. Larios, to look at the noise study,
No.
Right.
which would definitely require additional escrowed funds.
Right,
Along
so
with the
we're,
traffic study.
The traffic study.
She's looking at the file right now, so just,
yeah, all we got initially was 500 though. Robin, is that correct?
yes.
Okay, that's all we need to know. We know that that's probably been eaten up already. Jonathan, do you have any recommendations?
Well, just knowing that the amount of time that you and I have spent just preparing for today's meeting,
Oh, that's what she said.
reviewing all of these letters and things that came in, it's certainly more than use the escrow that
Yeah,
you've already
the
received.
escrow's gone.
And when a traffic study comes in, Nelson Pope Voorhees, we have a traffic engineer we can plug in to review that, and that is going to be an additional cost for that review. The noise study, when it would come in, would need to go to Mr. Larios, the engineer for the
Yeah,
town.
and he may even send it to someone else. Because
And
I don't know that
he
they
may
do
sub it
noise.
out to a noise
Right.
person.
I don't know that they do noise.
This would be several times more escrow expense than a typical application, certainly than the other ones we had earlier tonight.
Okay.
Barbara would like to know, do you want to make that amount known now, or do you want to wait?
That's what we're discussing, is how much to add to that now.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
So the professionals, what do you think should be asked for the escrow?
Well, if you're looking for a number, I would think at least an additional $3,500.
I just put 3,000 in the chat to all of you folks. So
I was being less discreet than Mary Lou. You just blurted that out. Excuse
and
me.
of course, if we don't use all that money, it gets returned to the applicant.
Sure.
They're discussing it.
But that, I believe, would be, somewhere in that range is a reasonable number to bring this to the next stage.
Well, you folks are the professionals, so.
So why don't we split it at 3250?
That's what I was gonna say, Paul.
I'm amazed that the two of us came that close without conferring.
We've both done this a lot.
Let's go, whatever.
Do we need a motion for that?
Can we have a motion to
I'll
increase
make
the
that
escrow?
Yes.
We said to 3250, right?
Yes.
3,250, not 3250.
All in favor?
You need a second.
No, go ahead. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Eric seconded it, I think.
So motion by Dr.
All in favor?
Ozan.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Jonathan will take care of preparing the communication to the applicant.
Yes, and
Yes.
after we have received all of these things, then we will set the date for the new public hearing, for the continued public hearing, correct?
Yes, and just for the members of the public to understand, it's going to take who are still listening, it will take some time for the applicant to obtain these submittals, and then for the planning board's consultants to review these submittals. So it might be a month or two, or, before we reconvene, because I don't believe the board would want to put this back on the agenda, for instance, if we hadn't heard the review of the noise study and just got the noise study results. So all of this will add some time. And we will not be renoticing the hearing or renoticing.
Actually, because we're, right now, because we have adjourned without date, we will have to renotice.
Well,
they won't get personal letters, but it will have to be put in the paper again under New York state law.
okay, so being that it's not to a date certain, yes, I agree. But no personal letters this time. That's really what I wanted people to understand, is that if we have a hearing in July, you're not going to get a letter for that. So you're going to have to sort of stay tuned.
It will.
And it will be noticed in the journal.
Is that what we use,
That's
Robin?
Yes.
Okay, yes. And agendas are also put on the website, correct? On the town website?
Yes.
So you can also check each month's agenda on the town website in case you miss it in the journal.
Okay. Mary Lou, what's left to do this evening?
Approval of minutes.
12 minutes.
I have one more question before the approval of minutes. I'm sorry. So on our local law number 2, on C, design standards. So it talks about number of events. So it talks about limited to a maximum of 12.
Right, maximum.
Right. Well, unless the board, decides to do different.
Right.
So I know, like with the Lundy property, we did 18. So theoretically, you do 6.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a maximum of 12.
Yeah.
You can do less.
And I guess we neglected, if the board wished to, it could take action on that aspect of the application tonight, or you could wait and see what gets submitted. But for instance, if as a board, you discussed it tonight and you knew there's no way, for instance, that you would go over the default maximum of 12, that might be useful for the applicant to know if you make that decision now. But you're not required to. You could wait till you got more information to decide on the number of events. The other thing that's open to you in a special permit is renewals. If you were,
We did that with Lundy.
if you're concerned that the typical, this will last, 2 years between renewals, you can change the renewal period if you wish to have a shorter term for the special permit in its first spell before it has to be renewed.
Jonathan, I think we may revisit that, because that sounds like something that we might want to consider.
Yeah, I would say I would prefer to, before we start picking numbers, have
More information
to,
absolutely.
Base that decision on,
I think that would be wise.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I wasn't stating any numbers. I was just asking about the law.
Yeah, and we hadn't discussed that particular issue tonight.
Right.
Yeah, too early, I think. Okay.
Minutes.
I need a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Need a motion to
So moved. Adjourn.
Second. Don.
before we close, Mary Lou, anything we left out?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You should really check with Barbara, because she's the one who writes it all down.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. Vote on that. All in
Aye.
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 Good night.
Good
night.
Good night.
Good night.